My name is Melissa Cruz. I think most of you know me. I'm HLA's chapter engagement manager, and I do all things chapters. Um, the I'm getting a couple questions in the chat about people asking if they'll be able to see the other participants. No, for a webinar, you'll only be able to see me. And go ahead and use the Q&A button to ask questions, and I'll go through the questions at the end. This webinar is being captioned. You can turn on, we've got the wonderful Tammy captioning for us today, and you can turn on your captions by clicking the CC button on your computer. So we're going to go ahead and get started. As I said, my name is Melissa Cruz. I'm HLA's chapter engagement manager. And what we're talking about today is HLA's website, particularly the chapter hub, but the overall website as well, and how you can use that as a resource to grow your chapters and help your members. Hopefully, you all are familiar with HLA's website, hearingloss.org. We're going to go through a variety of these different sections that you can see up here at the top. These are kind of the key sections. Chapters, understanding hearing loss, find help, advocacy and resources, get involved. We also have media publications, Walk for Hearing, and about HLLA. We're really not going to go into those. We're going to focus on the chapters, the understanding hearing loss, finding help, advocacy and resources, and getting involved. The first, sorry, I think I just went one section too far. Yes. So the first section we want to take a look at is the chapter section. For you all as chapter leaders, this is probably one of the key sections for you. There's a lot in there. If you click on this little button up at the top, it will take you to a page, and then you're going to want to enter the chapter portal. And if you haven't registered, you'll have to register, but it's pretty quick and easy. You'll just click on the chapter portal login. And if you've registered before, you'll enter your username and your password. If you haven't, it will give you an option to register. You'll then be approved, and then you can access it. Once you've registered, you're in there for good. You don't have to do it again. You'll just have to put in your username and password when you want to access. Within the chapter portal, we've got a variety of different tools for chapter leaders. We've got various different sections, leader resources, and I'm going to go through all of these: leader resources, communications, start a chapter, publicity and promotion, and state advocacy. We're going to start with leader resources because I think that's probably the kind of not really most important, but the one that has the most information that I think chapter leaders can use on a day-to-day basis. We've got, again, within here, a variety of different sections. We've got chapter workshops, so you can see all the various recordings from training sessions in the past. So, for example, this one is being recorded and will be on there down the road. Financial stability, legal and governance, meeting ideas, the chapter group update form. All chapter leaders, groups, state associations are required to fill out this form each October. But also, if information changes, you don't have to send me an email, try and track me down my phone. You can just go in here and update the form, and I'll get a notice that it's been updated and can then update your information on the website, on all the documents HLA has. We also within here have the Chapter Portal Resource Center. This is, I think, a great place to look if you've got questions about things. You can search by keyword, you can search by category, you can search by topic, you can search by content type. So if you want to see all of the webinars that are within the chapter portal, you can choose webinar. If you want to see all of the, PDFs, or if you want to search by category. So for example, if you've just taken over a chapter and you're a newly elected president, and you're like, gosh, I'm not totally sure what my role is. you can go in here and type in the word president. And all of the documents that relate to being an HLA president, or in this case, have the word president, so like vice president, come up. And you can then go in and say, oh, there's a document that outlines the roles and responsibilities of being an HLA president. And so we've got all kinds of different things like that in here. We have all of the past convention workshop presentations. Those are all in here. So if you were at the convention and have a question about a particular workshop and you want to look at a PowerPoint, that's in here. We have a surrogate speaker list. We've got a variety of people from around the country who have agreed to be available to chapters to talk about different topics. You would just need to schedule with them virtually to present at your meeting. And they're in there with their topics and their information. So there's that's in there as well. So, just a lot of different resources. Then going back out to leaving the leader resources and going to HLA communications. This is where you can sign up for a lot of different news updates, sign up for our e-news. But one of the things that I think is really important for chapter leaders, especially, is our groups IO. We've got the HL leaders group, the newsletter group, and the tech group. The leaders group is really great. It's a great place to sign up and bounce ideas off each other. If a chapter leader asks me a question and I'm not sure, or if they're like, do other chapters do this? And I'm like, gosh, I don't know. I'll go in there and put it into the group's IO, and then people can respond and say, yes, my chapter's doing it, or we had success with this, or we've tried that. So it's a really great way to kind of interact with other HLA chapter leaders and find out what they're doing with their chapter and different ideas. Then we also have, going back out to the bigger sections, we've got the start a chapter. This probably isn't as relevant for you guys since all of you are chapter leaders. But if you're, say, moving to another area and want to start a chapter in a new place, or if someone asks, how do they start a chapter in their area, you can find all of those resources here. And then we also have our publicity and promotion section. This is where you can get a variety of different media materials to support your outreach. So we've got HLA's editorial guide. We've got the messaging triangle, a brand guide. A couple things I think are really important. We've got all of the chapter group and state association, as well as HLA's national logos here. So, I get emails from folks saying, hey, where can I find this logo, that logo? I'm always happy to respond and get those to you. But, sometimes I might not see your email and for say 10, if it comes in like over the weekend or something, I might not see it until Monday morning. So if you really need it right away, this is a great place to go to find those. We also have the HLA online store, which is where you can order materials for your chapter. So our engagement brochure, our communications tips, all those different materials that we always have. Those can be ordered here. There is no charge for printing. The only charge is for shipping. We also have our state advocacy section, and we're going to talk a little bit about it here, and then we're also going to talk about it more when we go out to the main page. We have HLA action alerts on our main website, and we're going to go through those. But if you're doing advocacy in your state and you want to submit a state action alert, for example, there is, a bill currently going through Virginia for captioning. And one of the Virginia chapters submitted a state action alert. And that is a way to let us know, and then we'll create a a it is an action alert that will live on our main page, and you can then share that link, and people can um, email their, depending on where it is in the process, either their state senators, their state representatives, if it's sitting on the governor's desk and we want the governor to sign it. So you can actually create an action alert and then it'll live on our page. So anyone who comes to our page will see it. But then you can also take that link and share it with other people. So you can share it with your chapters. You can give it to them to share with their networks so that it can really expand out into the community. And we also have a couple of things. We found that Neil Schneider, our public policy director, found that um, hearing aid insurance and captioning were kind of the two big topics that state chapters were trying to address. And so we've got this here where it's kind of got a toolkit. It's got sample legislation. It walks you the process of how you can take a bill and go to your local legislator and try and talk to them and hopefully get the bill introduced. We also have kind of FAQs, what an action alert is, how you submit it, what the process is, and how your action alert is performing. And all of that is in our advocacy section. So now I'm going to go back to the main website and the main sections. That was the chapter portal. Now we're going to look at these other ones: hearing loss, find help, advocacy resources, and getting involved. And we're going to start with understanding hearing loss. And in the understanding hearing loss section, we've got hearing loss 101, symptoms, hearing loss types, causes and treatments, and prevention. And we're going to kind of take a little bit of a look at all of these little sections. I'm not going to go into each and every section, but just kind of give you an overview so you know where to find things. I have to admit, I did a similar presentation for the American Library Association recently. And as I was putting it together, because they asked me to talk about HLA's website, and as I was putting it together, I realized, gosh, there are resources on here that I didn't even know existed, as well as resources that honestly, I'm not quite sure why they're in the sections they are, that it's not necessarily always intuitive. So that was one of the reasons I wanted to do this training for everyone today, was because I was like, gosh, if I didn't know this was here or didn't know that this was in this section, that you guys might not either. So I wanted to make sure everyone knew how to really fully use our website to the best of its abilities. But we're going to take a look at hearing loss 101, or actually, I'm sorry, we're going to take a look at the symptoms, which is, do you have hearing loss? And this kind of it walks you through the signs and symptoms to watch for, things like that. It also has taking the hear well screening test, knowing your hearing number, and learning about different types of hearing loss. So again, if you come across someone, if you're out, doing a health fair or something like that, and someone says, I think my husband has hearing loss, or I might have a hearing loss. What do I look for? Here's some place you can direct them for that information. We also have types of hearing loss, and all of these, you can click on these different types and it will take you into more details. I'm going to show you the tinnitus one because this happens to be actually one of the most highest trafficked pages on our website. And this is something that people always come to our website and go to. And so wanted to make sure you guys knew about that it was here. But all of those different types of hearing loss have information similar to this, what it is, symptoms, causes. And then, in this case, you can also find more information. We've got links to the American Tinnitus Association, the National Institute of Deafness and other communication disorders. So those are again places, if you have questions, one of your chapter members has questions, these are great places that you can direct people to. This is the Hearing Loss 101, Understanding Hearing Loss. And this is, I think, really great for a couple of reasons. One, there's some really great information on here, but again, the information that you can buy in the store, the brochure, you can find in our store, the brochures, three of them you can actually download yourself here. So we've got printer-friendly PDFs that you can print down. So if you want to, say, pass out communication tips, and you don't have an opportunity to order them from the store, you can download them here as well. So these are a great resource for everybody, but especially the chapter leaders. Now we're going to go into the find help section, and I'm going to pause for a second and take a look at the Q&A and see if there are any questions. Oh, there are no open questions, so I'll keep going. But again, if you have any questions, put them in the Q&A or put them in the chat, and I will try and answer them as we go along. But our find help section is really divided into four different sections: the technology, medical, financial, and lifestyle. And we're going to do a little bit more of a dive into those as well. Technology has, well, this kind of shows all of the different things that are under each section. So technology has information about Auracast, hearing aids, OTC hearing aids, CIs, hat, captioning, phone and mobile devices, our ICAT website. Then medical has guide for professional help, prepare for an appointment, effective communication. We have financial assistance, and then lifestyle and emotion. And we're going to take a little bit more of a look at these. So again, under technology, we've got Auracast, hearing aids, OTC captioning, ICAT, cochlear implants, phones and mobile devices, and hearing assistive technology. And we're not going to, again, go into each of these, but if you have any questions or, want more information or if someone asks you, these are ones to do. And I am going to do a deeper dive into a couple of them just so you can kind of get an idea of what sort of information we have in there. So for example, the Auracast one, we've got information in there about Auracast, what it is. We've got you know, the most recent magazine, we had several articles about Hearing Life magazine. We had several articles about Auracast. So, you can look at those. We had, we have the Bluetooth interview with Sherry Perizzoli. So there's a bunch of different information in there about Auracast. We recently had a webinar about Auracast. That's also located on this page. So, and I know Orcast is kind of one of those new things that people hear a lot about and have questions. And if people are asking you questions, this is a great place to look for that information. It looks like there is a question. Michelle Frisbee, I've had to accept cookies multiple times when accessing the HLA website in recent months from the same computer. Shouldn't it keep track somehow and not ask for this every time someone goes on the site? Um, I would think that it should. I don't actually do that part of the website, but I can certainly raise that with our communications folks and find out why it's doing that and see why that's happening. I honestly don't know why you're running into that problem. Also, within the technology, we've got information, like I said, about hearing assistive technology. So there's information in here about loop systems. Again, more information about Auracast, Wi-Fi audio, FM, infrared systems. So again, if someone is, looking for, I know a lot of times people say, oh, my church is looking to put in a system. Where can I find more information about loops too? And there's also another big section about loops that we'll see as well. But here's, a place where you can go and find some general information. You can find information about Wi-Fi audio, all of those sorts of things. Those can all be found here. We also have information about smartphones, accessories, applications. And one of the things that I think is really neat that's great on this website is that you can actually go in and see if you have either an iPhone or an Android, what hearing accessibility features it has. So if you click on, say, iPhone hearing aid accessibility features, it takes you to this page that looks kind of like the image on the right, where you can put in your operating system, what version you have, and it will pull up all of the different accessibility features that your phone has and walk you through how to turn them on, how to use them. And we have that both for iPhones and Androids. And I think that's great because I've actually gone to different presentations, some of Tina Childress's presentations, Um, Shannon from the Arizona chapter has done some great tech presentations. And I always learn new features that I was like, oh, I didn't know my phone could do that. And so this is a great place to look to make sure that you have all of the features that your phones have on there. It also talks about some of the different captioning apps and things that are out there. So again, great resource. And it looks like we might have another question. So let me take a look. Mary Jarrett, I was recently looking for information about Oracast. I first looked under information assisted listening systems, which took me to the things. I looked and found this location for Oracast, but I never saw anything about FMIR systems. Um, so that would be back on the previous page. Oops, sorry. I think I'm going the wrong way. That would be here under hearing assisted technology. You can click on, there's the Wi-Fi audio systems or the FM systems, and that's where you'd be able to find that. Um, Someone asked, can a chapter have more than one person sign in using a different username and portal to access the password? Yes, absolutely. All of the leaders in your chapter. So the president, vice president, even if, key volunteers, everybody should be using the portal. And they would just register using their email and set up their own email, their own login and password. And they'll just, when they do it, just say, I'm with, the Nebraska chapter and, I'm a leader and we can get them set up. And then it looks like we've got a couple more questions. Um, Brenda, is it possible to place a QR on each page or subpage? For example, talking to someone at a health fair, I can direct them to the page of the website that suits their issue. I don't know. That's a great idea. Let me talk to our web team and see if that's something that that they can add. That you're right, that would make it really good. Fred wanted to mention that another excellent resource out of HLAA is Dr. Cliff Olson on YouTube. Dr. Olson is great. He spoke at our Phoenix convention and he's wonderful. So always great to have those resources. Um, but anyway, so you can find information about the different technology here. Um, you can find information about like smartphones. So a lot of different things related to technology in this section. And then we also have finding help. This is for in healthcare. So we've got guidance for professional help, preparing for an appointment, your patient's rights, how to have successful communication with your doctor. Those are all in this section. Then we have financial information. In here, there are additional resources like the guide to financial assistance for hearing aids that HIA put out. We've got insurance and financial assistance for hearing aids from Hearing Healthy Hearing. So there are different things here. Again, I know cost is a big issue, and so this is another place for folks you can direct folks for resources. Um, for the social and emotional, again, we've got these click through to other pages with more information. For example, under emotional, we've got our the emotional side of hearing loss. Uh, Sorry, blanking. Research symposium we did last year. So we've got a variety of different things in here, but there are these resources. Looks like we have some more questions. So let me stop for a second and answer those. Um, is Juliet with Juliet Starkins being an HLA spokesperson, are her various YouTubes or TED Talks linked on the website? Um, I think some of her things are. I'm not sure that everything is, but I do believe that some of hers are. I think that if you put her name into the search bar, different resources that she's provided come up. And now I'm moving over to our advocacy section. And again, I'd mentioned the action alerts and how states can create action alerts for their things. We also have national action alerts. So right now we've got, I think, four or five going. The Medicare Hearing Aid Coverage Act, ALIES Act, and a few other ones. And one of the benefits of creating a state action alert is that you can send information out to your chapters and things so they can take action. But we have these national ones that we're promoting. And for example, Alex Act, we did a social media post asking people to take action, and it generated a ton of traffic. And but that it not only generated traffic to this particular action alert, but it then generated traffic to other action alerts. So, for example, if you're, in say New York and you give us an action alert, anyone who comes to our website, to say maybe take action for Alex Act, will also see your New York action alert, and they can choose to take action there. And so, for example, right now, the Massachusetts folks sent us an action alert. So they've got a bill pending, and you can take action to support private insurance for hearing aids in Massachusetts. So again, this is a great way, to make sure that you not only are getting the word out within your state, but you can help us by letting us know about this to help you by promoting it on our website. So it's a great resource there. And then this is one of the things when I was talking about how when I was going through our website, I discovered some things that I really didn't understand quite why they were where they were. And this is really the one of the main sections. Under our advocacy information section, we also have information about healthcare communications, public listening systems, and employment. And the Communications Access and Healthcare Task Force has created a bunch of resources that are in here. So they've got resources for patients, resources for providers, knowing your medical rights. And these are actually more detailed than what we had over in the healthcare section under Finding Help. So again, not quite sure why this is located here, but this is a great resource to go to. And then we also have information about hearing loops. And there is, again, under our technology, we have information about hearing loops, but we've got a lot more here for some reason. And so when you go in here, you can find, again, loop venues, the New York chapter's loop successes. We've got all of these different get in the hearing loop toolkits, an advocacy guide. We've got information that you can download about telecoil information for audiologists, understanding what a hearing loop is, how the Google Maps and hearing loops work, how to promote hearing loops on Google Maps, hearing loop equipment for professionals, the toolkit checklist for hearing loops. And then I think this is also a great one, how to make sure that you're getting your telecoils enabled when you go to your audiologist. Because again, I hear from a lot of people that they go to that they'd never heard about telecoils. They didn't know how to have them enabled until they came to an HLA convention. And so this is a great thing to go to to take with you to your audiologist. And we've got another question, so I will pause and um, Michelle Frisbee, how about advocacy that's not legislative, like advocating with our local audiologists and ENT to raise awareness of HLAA and advocating that to get them to inform their patients? We don't currently have that really living on the website, but that is something that we know, and we're putting together some information and some like flyers and things that you can use specifically with audiologists. And as soon as that is done, I will be sharing that with the chapter leaders. And it will definitely live in the chapter portal. I don't know where else it may live on the website, but that is in the works and it is coming. And then we also have information about employment. So we've got the Task Force for Accessible Inclusive Employment here. They do quarterly webinars. We just did one yesterday and also do a workshop at the convention. And so you can always find out information about the upcoming webinars. And there are also then links to the past webinars on this page. So again, employment questions, great. And then they also have some other resources. So they've got a workplace tech. They've got the Job Accommodations Network link, which is a great resource. Any sort of accommodations issues, how to ask, what to do. Jan is a wonderful, wonderful resource, and you can go on there and not even just related to hearing loss. It has any sort of accommodations you might need to ask for. So, again, a great resource. Um, And then we also within this section have similar to the resource center that we have within the chapter portal for chapter leader resources, we have an overall resource center. And that's in the advocacy and resources section. And again, just like in the portal, you can search by keyword, um, search by category, search by topic, search by content type. So if you wanted to see every webinar that we had on our website, again, you could get a content type and do webinar or video, and it would pull up all of them. But we've got all of these different resources on here. And now we're going to go to the Get Involved section. And within that is attending our convention, um, watching the educational webinars, walk for hearing, the chapters, connect with our veterans, and view our chapter events calendar. I know a lot of you use the Groups IO calendar feature to list your chapter events, both virtual and in person. This is where it shows up on the website, is under Get Involved. It also shows up under our kind of overall calendar if you go to the calendar page, but you can also find it under Get Involved. And I would encourage everyone, if you're not currently listing your chapter events on the Groups IO calendar, please do so. If you have any questions, email me separately and I can get you information about how to do that. But that's a great way to make sure that people are aware of the activities you're doing. And I know a lot of chapters who do them and list them, especially if they're hybrid or have a virtual component, end up with people around the country joining their meetings because they're like, oh, that's a really cool and interesting topic, and I'm going to do, I want to join. So it's a great way to again grow your membership. Um, so again, I guess I kind of talked about this before I got to the slide, but view the chapter events calendar. Um, And then also finding chapters. This is it's under this section under Get Involved. It's under the chapter tab. But, if someone is asking, I'm moving to XYZ place, or my cousin is in Colorado and living in Denver and has hearing loss. What do where do I refer her? You can go on here and look and see if we have a chapter in that area. If you have any questions, again, like, oh, I don't see anything nearby, feel free to email me. I may know of a group that's forming that isn't necessarily on the list yet, but, may want more people and, happy to connect them with the people who are forming the chapter. But so this is a great place. I try and keep this information as updated as possible. But if you look and see your chapter is, I've got incorrect information, send me an email and I will try and get it updated immediately. But again, this is where the chapter update forms come into play as well, because I need the information from you guys so I can make sure that I've got correct information on here. And it looks like we have another question. Um, Harry, do we just post our meeting to the group IO to get listed? No, you'll put it into the calendar, and I can send you some information about how to specifically do that. Um, but so that is the find a chapter section. Then we also have information about our veterans chapter. Um, that is also on the Get Involved page. We have a virtual veterans chapter that meets the third Tuesday of every month. We also have parents, a new parents group, a national parents group that has formed that meets the third Wednesday of every month. And I don't have a slide for that because we just added a web page to that this week. But there is also, again, a parents page on our website, and it's a place to find resources, find the webinars. We don't always record those meetings, but if there is a guest speaker, we will record that portion so that we just did something. The last meeting was understanding your child's audiogram. And so that is on there on that website. So again, just some more resources. Our veterans chapter meetings, if we have a guest speaker, again, those are recorded and those live on this page as well. We've got the HLA convention. You can find all the information and all things convention under the Get Involved section. If you haven't registered, I encourage you to do so. It's in Louisville this June from the 10th to the 12th. HLA conventions are one of my favorite parts of HLA. I love going and learning and seeing everybody. I feel like they're kind of a giant family reunion. If you haven't been, I absolutely encourage you to attend. Chapter leaders do get a chapter leader discount. If you chapters can send up to 4 members of their chapter at the chapter leader discount. So if you have any questions about that, you can just email me separately. Walk for Hearing. As a lot of you know, we have our signature program, the Walk for Hearing. It's community events that take place in 20 cities annually. You can find information about that. You can find information about what cities, how to join, how to be part of a team. Even if you don't have a um, walk in your city, chapters in other cities can still join as alliances with other walks. And we will be sending out some more information about that probably in the next month or so. But you can still utilize the Walk for Hearing as a way to raise money for your chapter, even if there is not a walk in your city. So, again, great resource, amazing events. I've been lucky enough to go to, I think, 4 now, and just really neat and great to see the community, lots of excitement, just a really neat thing. And that's it. My email's on here, so I'm going to leave it up for just a couple minutes before I stop sharing. So if you need to email me, you can write it down. But I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and come back. And see if there are any questions. I know I've been answering some of them as we go along, but if you have other questions or if you want me to go back and talk about something else, please go ahead and just put that into the Q&A box. And I see I'm getting one. Harry, unfortunately, I can't make this year's HLA convention. Do you know? Oh, Robin is answering this. We know it's going to be in Atlanta this year, and um, Robin is going to give us the dates. I know, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But it's going to be in Atlanta. Are there other questions or anything you want me to go over? Hopefully this was helpful to folks. And, if you think of something after the fact and have a question, feel free to shoot me an email. I'm also going to put the PowerPoint into the resource center in the chapter portal. So if you want to go back and, say, where was that section again? What I remember her talking about this, but I don't remember exactly where it was. You can certainly go back and take a look at that. That'll be in there later today. Um, and again, if you have questions, my job is to help our chapters. And so, again, if you have questions, beyond obviously this, feel free. And I certainly would also encourage you to just poke around on our website. Um, the I found when I was looking at it, I was like, gosh, like I said, there were things that I didn't realize were on there. Michelle, is there a way to get a list of all the resources in the research center that rather than having to do a search? Not really, because it's so large. We've got so much information in there that there's not really a way to do a list. I think the other way that might be easier would be to look, we've got them listed by type. So, for example, in the chapter portal, all the things that are related to governance, so running a chapter, are tagged as governance. So you can go and click that and look through the documents. Stephen Judy. Um, is HLA working on a portal that chapters can use to make their own website? Yes, we are. As of today, I can absolutely tell you we are working on that. We should have the prototype in about 60 days. And then we will have to do some tweaking and things, but it is in the pipeline. And we hope to have that out to you all, hopefully within, I would say, like the next 4 to 6 months, maybe even sooner, depending on how the prototype and the testing goes. Let's see if there's anything in the chat. I'm getting a question about when will this be available? It will probably be available within um, 10, 10 to 14 days. We've had several other webinars and things going on, and our wonderful communications team goes in and make sure the captions are in, does some little edits, and then gets it up on the website. And so it takes about a week. With everything we've had going on with webinars and other kind of educational things over the last few days, I think it may take a little bit longer, but it will be up fairly soon. Um, Someone asked if they could see the other participants or just me. No, because it's a webinar, it's just me. Let's see. Um, Michelle Frisbee, is there a cost to that website opportunity? We don't know yet. That's one of the things we're still working through. It's going to kind of depend on what the prototype is, but there will be more details coming on that. Um, Someone else asked, does the site have PDF templates for presentations to various groups such as assisted living, churches, etc.? Yes, we do have some of those in the resource center, and you can just Google. I think it's called like general presentation or something similar. But you can look in there, and there are some like beginning um, PowerPoints that you can take and utilize and, kind of build out for whatever you need. Harry, will you bring HLA more west in the future at all? Kansas City, perhaps, or Denver, the last two at least, and 2027 still Eastern. Um, we definitely consider a variety of factors in coming up with a convention. It's and location is one of them. Absolutely. We were on the West Coast when we were in Phoenix in 2020. That would have been 2024.
Or
Yes. Um, And so we were out there then, and we do absolutely look at that, but it also depends on timing. It depends on what the hotel can offer. We're kind of a unique group in that we we can't reuse some of our space the way other groups do because of the looping. And so where, a lot of conventions would use their ballroom space for like an opening session and then break it down and reuse it for workshops and things. With our accessibility needs, that's not something we can do. So, that finding a hotel that has enough space for all of us is not always, the easiest thing, but we do, looking at all of the factors, including geographic, is something we definitely take into account.
Thank you.
And the mystery voice is Robin. She doesn't have her camera on, but that's who's talking.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, my camera's
Everyone
not
knows.
on. I'm multitasking.
Well, I think, unless there are more questions, I think that's it. Feel free to, if you have more questions, like I said, you can put them in now, or we can, oh wait, we got another one. Um, Patricia, my first convention was when it was in Oklahoma City. Can't tell you the year, but will it ever go back there? Again, can't say for sure. A lot of variety, but Oklahoma City is a great location, and it was, one of the cities we asked for a bid. So we also run into, things like when World Cup is happening, and in this case, this summer, it's in, I think, 15 cities around the country. That takes out a lot of the hotels and meeting space and things like that. So again, we have to look at what other things are happening in a particular city. We don't want a repeat of having the convention while Essence Fest is going on, like we did in New Orleans. So, again, things we try and take a look at as we're making this decision. Um, Harry is suggesting that Google also does some things with chat or does some things for websites and that they're looking at that for their chapter. And Connecticut also is using them. And that's great to know. Um, you know, we try and provide resources and tools for the chapters. You don't have to use them. If we come up with this, when we come up with this new website prototype, if your chapter website, is already amazing, we're not going to force you to take a step backward and use something like that we come up with. This is more of a resource for folks who have come to us and said, "Hey, we really need a chapter website, but we don't have any idea where to start or how to do that." Um, Thank you, Patricia, and thank you. Patricia just thanked me, but I really want to thank all of you guys. You guys are the ones who are really out there every day making a difference for HLLA. Oh, and Sue Miller just said Oklahoma City was in 2007. Yay, Sue.
Correct.
You always know these resources, these things. All right. Well, everyone, thank you so much for being here. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, like I said, email me. It's mcruz@hearingloss.org. Cruz is Kruse. I am here for whatever questions you need. And, even if it's not chapter related, but you don't know who to ask, shoot it to me. I can, direct it over to the right person within our organization. So, just, again, whatever you need, I'm here for you guys. And thank you guys for everything you do. And have a good day. Bye.